Welcome to the World Builder's Anvil, episode 100. Am I Evil?
Don't know where to start building your fantasy world? Do you need more? Does it make sense? Forget any worries and become a crafter of imagination. This is the place that will help prime your mind. Now, it's time to heat up the forge, break out the mithril ingots and hammer. Welcome to the World Builder's Anvil. I'm your host, Jeffrey W. Ingram. Let's sup from the mug of Java and build. And the answer to that question, if you know the song, is yes, I am. And I am Jeffrey W. Ingram.
I'm Michael Miller.
And we're here with the World Builder's Anvil. And today's topic, Am I Evil?, is where we construct a fantasy evil person.
So if you've been paying attention, we had built a boogeyman, we built a hero. We've been on a building spree lately, which I like.
Yeah.
And we decided not to make a foil for our hero, but just make an evil character, make a bad guy. Mm-hmm. The one thing that we realized that Jeff and I didn't want to turn this into 2 episodes like we did with, accidentally did with the hero. I'm going to call it the mini hero series. So we didn't plan on defining villains because we figured, they're pretty much the same as heroes except they're evil. And then we realized not exactly.
Not quite. In a way, you could almost have, one of those sort of yin-yang relationships where there's a evil type for every good type. And maybe that's even still true, but this list is slightly more complete than the hero types list.
I think it is. Yeah. And some of the ones that we have up here are kind of the same or opposites of the ones that we had. Mm-hmm. We have which one was our pure evil? Was that the fanatic?
No, it's all in.
All in. So we have the all in villain. It's kind of the opposite of our Boy Scout.
Yes.
So, all right. So let's cruise through the types and we'll start building a bad guy.
Excellent. So we're going to start off with one of my favorite for everything, which is reluctant. Most people don't necessarily go down the path they choose in life on purpose.
And if you ask me, a good bad guy didn't start out meaning to be that.
Sure.
They just kind of meandered down the wrong path, and the further and further they went, it was, it's not like, today I want to stomp on kittens and kill a bunch of people. It's, well, maybe this guy should die because he's bad, and maybe that guy should die because he's bad, and then slowly but surely they want to kill everyone, and then they realize, or maybe they don't realize, that they're the bad guy now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But I don't know if that's what you mean by reluctant. I think you're more talking about.
I'm more talking about they're making bad choices, and they know they're making bad choices, and at least when they start, they don't want to be doing that.
Bad as in poor or bad as in evil? Like I'm making a poor choice or I'm making an evil choice?
Evil. As in I chose to steal something.
Okay.
I don't want to have to steal something, but because of the position I'm in, I have to do it.
So more justifying evil?
It might not even be justified. It might just be because, that's more of their mindset, their motivation.
That's how they make it okay.
They might make it okay, but they realize what they're doing is wrong, but they feel for whatever reason they have to do it.
So the second one up there is one that I'm very partial to, is the psycho.
Yes.
This would be, will we say the Joker? Well, I mean, the Joker definitely is a psycho. He is
definitely
a psycho, though.
Definitely not.
So who would you qualify? So like a Hannibal Lecter?
Hannibal Lecter, Dexter.
Dexter? Okay. Yeah, but Dexter's a good guy.
Yeah, I guess.
He rids the world of evil. Dexter is a good guy.
No.
Dexter is an anti-hero.
Dexter is a villain.
Dexter is an anti-hero.
He's still a villain. It just, luckily, his taste for the people he kills are evil.
But him choosing that, in my opinion,
does not choose it.
He does choose it.
No.
Yes, he does. He most certainly does.
One of the things that defines a psychopath is it's usually more of a genetic-sided thing that comes out in someone's life. It's a compulsion you can't stop.
I'm not saying he chooses the killing.
Mm-hmm.
That, I agree, is a compulsion that he can't help.
Yeah.
But
because he focuses on evil.
But the fact that he takes that, knowing that thing that he can't control wholly, and focuses it on a positive outcome, in my opinion, that makes him a good guy. He's still doing bad things, but how does that make him any different than the Punisher?
Not really at all.
All right, then I win this argument. Moving on. Sociopath. That, I think you'd go with Hannibal Lecter. or you're not done with psychopath.
That is psychopath. Sociopath is your Joker. It's the person who has all the prerequisite skills to be a normal human, and for whatever reason, and people confuse them a lot because they might have they might express themselves in similar ways. Mm-hmm. But a sociopath is really someone who has every prerequisite skill. They choose to perform the actions. They want to perform the actions. Mm-hmm. They have zero empathy for anyone but themselves.
That's the big defining characteristic of a sociopath, is the lack of empathy.
Yes. And that's really the big thing that makes them different. And it's usually, I think, attributed more to an environmental twisting that got them to where they were. Mm-hmm. Even though there might be some genetic and environmental in a psychopath too. But psychopaths typically are more compulsed to perform a behavior, and sociopaths choose to perform a behavior. Mm-hmm. You know, they start with the cats, they move to the dogs, they move up to children, they move up the line.
Yeah. Supernatural.
Yeah, that's your, I am Thorgnor. I have been sent to destroy your world.
So like a lich or whatever.
Anything that is
any supernatural bad
guy. Yep.
But I think that calling a bad guy supernatural is more defining where the power comes from, not necessarily defining what kind of bad guy they are. So I would think that you would have to have an overlap.
You probably would, but you could also say too that it's because I'm demon, I have to perform these acts much the way a sociopath does. So the type of supernatural might cause the bad behavior.
But that'd be like falling into an archetype. I think that for the sake of
a lot of supernatural villains are.
I get that, but for the sake of a world building conversation, mm-hmm. I think that
you would very easily
I think that's a cop out. Like just saying, oh well, he's a demon, so he's going to behave this way. Okay, fine, he is, but what does that behavior dictate him as? What type of villain he is? He's not. Well, he's supernatural because he's got magic and demonic powers. No, he's a sociopath, a megalomaniac, and a sadist, and those are the type of bad guys he is. He just happens to be a demon. You know what I mean?
No.
All right, never mind. Moving on. I hope the listener understands that one because I felt that was point.
I kind of lost you after the first word. I was phasing out. They might fall for.
You know, you got to pay attention. You always tune me out. You're too happy listening to your own voice. You never want to listen to mine. Because you're a megalomaniac.
And fanatical.
Okay. So, fanatic.
Oh, wow. Well,
that was well-timed.
Oh, man. I guess I'm a bad guy. A fanatic is someone, and this definitely could go both ways, and it's very much a perspective thing over whether the fanatic is a good guy or a bad guy. But it's someone that is forced, and a lot of times this is pushed onto religion, and I think it's an easy one for people to become fanatical about, but I don't think that necessarily has to be causing the fanaticism. Mm-hmm. But it's essentially it's someone who will, to the death, perform the task they're doing to make sure that their end goal is achieved of, whether, it's the will of God or it's, I am doing this because it's the law or because it's not the law, whatever.
Right. Whatever agenda they're committed to it to the nth degree.
And so that one is, unfortunately, very, probably the best known right now.
Let's do the next one last.
Okay. Then we'll go straight to accidental.
So what's an accidental bad guy? Villain. I can use villain because bad guy sounds goofy.
Yeah.
Accidental villain.
An accidental villain is a villain who essentially stumbles into the life of crime. It is not his fault. It's not his intention to become a bad guy or a good guy necessarily. It's just whatever reason life has placed him in a position where he has to act badly.
Okay. You got an example?
Sure. Like, you might argue that Sheriff of Nottingham might be this. This could be an interpretation of the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Could be.
Because perhaps it's because of the will of the king.
Yeah, it's the will of the monarchy.
Pushing him to perform these actions upon the peasants. Okay. I don't think he's usually portrayed that way, though.
No, but
that would be an example.
Yeah, that's a perfectly arguable point.
Yeah, the underling whose boss forces you to hey, Michael, I need you to go into the clerical pool and fire everyone. And then you're the bad guy.
Yeah, because you're the one doing it. So, now almost last, we have Misguided, which is kind of like what I was saying earlier, right? That's what we were talking
They didn't hear this, though, so you might want to repeat
No. I mean, I started to talk about it when you were talking about the first one, Reluctant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, like, Misguided would be somebody who might even set out to be a hero.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, as they go down the path, they slowly but steadily are making decisions that put them on a path of evil. It might not even seem like evil to them. Going back to Dexter.
Yeah.
Dexter does evil things. He ritually kills people. He's committing murder.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he's killing murderers. He's killing psychopaths. So it's kind of a tough call. Like, in my opinion, he's an anti-hero. But it's very easily argued he's a murderer. He is straight murdering people.
And he truly enjoys the act of murdering.
And he's it's all premeditated. It's very planned out. So, I mean, he's just a straight murdering killer. So that's a villain.
And I think the reason why you're probably right with him being a hero is it's the perspective of the story.
Yeah, because you're rooting for Dexter the whole time.
You're rooting for Dexter to beat this other worse villain.
Yeah. So it's like, but you still, when you break it all down, I mean, he's still a villain. Yeah. He's doing bad things. And by bad, we're defining bad, I assume you're going to agree with me on this one, we're defining bad as the cultural norm.
Yes.
Like, what is the accepted cultural norm?
If the cultural norm is to brutally murder your neighbors whenever you have the chance and you choose not to, that would be an act of evil within that culture.
Exactly. You got to go with whatever within the culture is the accepted standard. So, if it's a marauding group of orcs and it's okay to get in a fist fight and stab that other guy, like, if that's okay, then that's not an act of evil. That's just an act of normalcy. Yeah,
or it could be like your warrior culture is fine to stand up and fight anyone, but stabbing them in the back could be evil. And this is one thing actually I'm sort of ashamed of me for not thinking of and talking about in the prior episode for Hero, but it's always based off of the thing I call the cultural norms. And there's earlier episodes that talk about cultural norms, but those do define it within the culture. However, when you're creating a story on top of it, you could play with that where the cultural norms are good and your villain is evil, but you make him the hero and the protagonist of your story.
Speaking of prior episodes, I just wanted to acknowledge something that we didn't really highlight earlier. This is the 100th episode. Like,
oh, crap, yeah.
Hurrah! 100th episode.
With over 700 coughs that mostly have been cut out.
Yeah. And while I have only been here for the last 21 episodes.
It's been 21?
21. It doesn't seem that, but I started at episode 79.
Wow.
Which
no, it doesn't.
It doesn't seem like that.
In a way, it's a lot more fun having you here.
I know I enjoy me being here.
Yeah, and I actually enjoy you being here. Usually when you realize you're wrong when you disagree with me, but sometimes I'll even enjoy it when you think you're right.
But I just wanted to acknowledge, I'm proud of what you have built here as a show, and I'm very proud to be a part of it. So thank you for having me.
And maybe I have to put something special for the 1 year anniversary, which will be coming up in January.
Nice. And then we'd have to look at the post date for what would be my 1 year anniversary. So we get 2 anniversaries a year from now on. So yeah, 100th episode, and I'm super excited that it's on villains because I love villains. So that was Misguided, and now our final villain type. And again, as with our hero list, this is probably incomplete. So if you've got others, that's perfectly fine.
Please taunt us with them.
Yeah, taunt us with them. Our last one is All In, and this is just your super evil villain.
He's twisting his mustache while he's tying the girl down to the railroad tracks.
Evil for evil's sake. He might not even have a reason.
The reason might just be because the script tells him to retire to the railroad tracks.
That's Dr. Evil.
Dr. Evil?
I didn't go through 4 years of evil medical school to be called Mr. Thank you very much.
And that was an impression of?
I don't use a Bond villain.
Oh, okay. Okay. I don't recognize that one.
Okay. Traits, attributes, and quirks, same as with a hero, so we're not going to get into that. Go listen to the hero episode. Do you have a name or gender that you want to start out with this guy?
I do not have it. Do we want to start there, or do we want to
We'll get back
decide upon that?
Are you okay with our villain being a male? It seems fitting because men are evil. Or do you want to try to make an evil woman?
I don't care. I'm indifferent.
Well, I think that one of the big charges of being a world builder is it's about making decisions. So
yes, and since this isn't actually for a story I'm currently working on, or I haven't been inspired when I was looking around on the internet earlier today, and I don't have a dice upon me.
I'll tell you what. How about we make a woman just because that's less common, and it'll challenge our creativity.
That's true. I'm trying to think of when was the last thing I've seen. Probably the X-Men with Dark Phoenix.
Well, I mean, you could certainly very easily lean on Disney evil queens. There's a lot of evil queens.
That's true.
There's a lot of evil queens.
So we're not doing the evil
in
queen.
fairy tales.
Yeah.
There's a lot of evil queens in fairy tales, or evil stepmothers.
But I am a believer that women can be as evil as men, which is unfortunate. But
okay, so
that's the way it rolls.
So we made a female hero. We're making a female villain.
Excellent.
All right. Now, do you want to go with one of your favorites, which is Reluctant? I think that we should steer clear of it because it's your favorite.
And we just did Reluctant for Hero.
I know. That's what I was going to say. Sociopath and Psychopath seems too extreme for your world. Well, no.
There's always a percentage of the population that are going to fall.
Of course, but how long are they going to last? You know what I mean?
Actually, you figure back in
a sociopath would probably do very well. Could thrive, but a psychopath I don't think would make it very far.
Well, you figured though, you know the leader of the brigands is a psychopath.
Okay,
if he has, as long as he has the power to maintain his control.
Well, that's my thought. I'm wondering if you're if you're a full blown psychopath, you have to get past the point of being responsible for your own needs. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't breach that point and you're off on your own and you can't take care of your own needs, you're just not going to survive. And you're not going to get others to help you because you're a psychopath. No one wants to help a psychopath.
There's always a crazed sibling or mother or father who
is obligated to
who
help.
Feels obligated and not to report them.
Here in the creepy claws at the door studio, there's a villain at the door.
Yeah, I don't think we can pick that up.
Yeah, that's okay. So I'm going to acknowledge it, just for the sake of naming the studio.
And it adds some ambiancy to the episode.
Yes, it does. All right, so no psychopath, no sociopath, unless you're jumping on those.
No.
Supernatural. Do we want to have supernatural powers for our villain? For our female villain?
I think so, but we just did a Wagner, and that feels sort of like a crossover there. So.
Okay,
so
that's
we'll
fair
stay
enough.
away.
So we're up to Fanatic, which I like. I like Fanatic. All In, Accidental, or Misguided. How about
I'm out of All In just because of the same reason I'm out of Boy Scout.
Yeah, all In is too much. How about we do like a Misguided Fanatic?
Okay.
Like I like that.
Yes.
Like those blend well to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We have a Misguided,
and then you just turn and
female.
Have to look at.
Shut up. Because I'm trying to get my juices going, get my brain going. Mm-hmm. All right. So when we did the hero, we talked about a humble beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is not a humble beginning, just because I want to be different from the hero. And I think if she's going to be a fanatic about something, she's got to be involved in something extracurricular to become a fanatic about. Now, the first thoughts that come to mind are religion, because
is the easiest one.
It's the easiest.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know your world well enough to be able to say, well, here's another thing. So why don't you throw another thing? Like, what else could she be a fanatic about?
Let's see.
A fanatic in a way that she has cause to do evil to others. Because that's what it comes down to. Evil's going to be against people. Or, is she human, first of all?
Let's make her human.
Yeah.
Just to be consistent.
Okay.
And that way, we'll stick with Petracum.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't need a reason. That's enough for me.
Well, the thing is too. It's like the cultural norms are close enough, so it won't feel alien.
And we've been doing so much Petracum culture for the past 15 episodes or so. So it's good. It's familiarity.
So we all do a Petracum human, and let's see. There are orders of knights.
There's princes and lords.
Well, a prince or lord would belong to an order. So an order.
Okay. I'm just throwing.
On Earth, you think of Templars, you think of Hospitallers, and in the Middle Ages there were all kinds of orders. And you have the same thing in Petracum, and essentially it's like Democrats or Republicans, but there are a lot more factions. So it's your factions of nobles. And so you could very easily, especially if you have someone coming from a higher beginning, they could be heavily into their specific faction, their political faction. That is another area where I think fanaticism rolls in, especially in certain times. We can't have a Lancaster be king. And that would be something someone probably really said during the War of the Roses. Let's see.
For a second, I thought you were making an inaccurate name reference to the Lannisters.
No, the Lancasters were one of the noble families who were fighting for the throne in England during the War of the Roses, which is something that you would say is heavily based, is heavily what
Song of Fire and Ice.
Song of Fire and Ice is based on the War of the Roses. Essentially, there's a new king every 5 or 10 minutes. Someone's getting their head chopped off. Everyone's trying to position their own person to become the next legitimate ruler and then hold on to that. And to end this, it was a long period of conflict in England that the Lancasters lost.
Wah, wah, wah.
But, yeah, and I don't know if the Lannisters are supposed to be them or not.
So why don't you pick one of your factions? Just pick one, and we'll run with it. And keep in mind, it doesn't have to
be real.
It doesn't have to end up in your story. But for the sake of us building a villain, just pick one.
So just pick one. Let's go with. We'll go with Bedrakans themselves, and that is the name of the culture. But one of the principalities is Bedrakis.
Okay.
And they're usually one of the two major players that go on. It's a relatively large faction. And essentially it would be supporting the Prince of Bedrakis, which would also, in theory, if it's the same time period as our last hero, it would be the evil prince trying to become king, which is cultural no in the Bedrakian culture.
That wasn't the same family, is it?
Same family.
It's the same one. Family. So this could just be maybe this woman is fanatical about the son taking out Prince Hogar.
But then if we put her into that part of the faction, then the problem's going to be she is going to end up being a villain for our hero. Which I don't care if it ends up that way, but I'm just warning.
What do you mean a villain for our hero? No.
Because our hero was against the son of Prince Hogar.
Right, and I'm saying this one is for Prince Hogar. Oh, you mean...
I thought you meant... I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you were saying.
So, I mean...
Well, either way, she could become a villain.
I was about to say, the way you worded that, it's still accurate. Like, she could end up being a villain against the hero that we had created. Yeah, which is fine. She could be a female foil. Not intentional, but that's what we're doing. So whatever. Brother, sister, or is she a family member?
She's, I'd say, not in
cousin,
the direct line cousin or something like
cousin.
That. Yeah.
Maybe like a second cousin. Maybe she's got like a creepy attraction to him, and there's that whole Seriously, why not? This is fun. I mean, that was common in royalty. There was a lot of incestuous relationships.
Yes, there were.
So we're not stretching the truth.
But actually, if they're a cousin, they might end up being married.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's why I'm saying cousin or second cousin. So there's no real. You can't frown on that in that culture.
Well, I think second cousins, you're fine. I think first cousins were still a little creepy.
It's still, well, I mean, you want to get...
But out of necessity, it might be a marriage.
If you want to get, like, truthful, I read something about this. You can have offspring with your first cousin.
I understand realism, but it's worked into the culture, so don't even go there.
Okay, I'm just stating... Sicko. I know. Whatever.
If you're one of Michael's cousins, don't come over.
Oh, Jesus. My gosh. Don't creep out my cousins and make a suggestion like that. That's not where this discussion is going. Anyway, so second cousin, she finds out about her cousin wanting to be prince, or maybe she just is very pro. We didn't give that other guy a name, the son.
No, we didn't, and he still has no name, so we will call him the son.
We're still going to call him the son? Okay. So we'll call him the son.
We'll call him the son.
So she's fanatical about the son. Why? Maybe he was kind to her as a child. Maybe it's been a childhood crush that has grown into a creepy, fanatical devotion.
I think she supports him, albeit she does not.
How do you feel about the attraction part? Like, do you want to build that in or no? You're lukewarm on that.
I'm lukewarm on that.
Okay. I just think it fits with fanatical.
But it's fanatical to the faction, and one, it could be she supports him because she does not like the idea of Prince Hogar becoming king, and she knows about that. So that could be the fanatical thing.
Okay. So her fanaticism is more about the entirety of her clan, family, what do you call it?
Well, at least the patriarch at the time, the leader of the family. But
so would you say family?
Yes.
So her fanaticism is about the family, not about the son.
Yes.
But it's going to lend.
She supports the son.
It's going to lend support to the son because she knows the father wants to do something that's going to be bad.
Oh, that could be bad for the whole family.
Yeah.
And she will do whatever it takes to ensure that he does not become king.
Okay.
And I mean anything, i.e. villain and not hero.
Okay. So why don't we come up with some of... Well, all right, let's start from the basics. Mm-hmm. Let's do what we did with the hero. Give her some stats. Like, let's give her... Like, we have an idea on who she is.
No, I think we should have the motivation and purpose because I don't know of her stats at this point.
Okay. Well, neither do I, but we're going to make them up.
We could, but I think it might be easier in this time to have an idea of her motivation and purpose first.
Okay. So motivation, part of that is just simply family. Family...
protect the family name.
Family devotion. I'm trying to think. There's another word that I wanted to use, but I'm drawing a blank on it now. What becomes her purpose? She's got to have a big task. What defines the hero is the big task. So what's going to be?
It's to stop the prince.
So stopping the prince becomes the big task, and subsequently the actions that define her as villain will fall under that task.
Oh yes.
Okay. So that's purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are you thinking of something good?
Yeah.
What do you got?
She is an agent of the Ascarai.
Wow. That's like a whole different culture, yeah? Oh, wait, no, you told me about this, though. So she grew up with the Ascarai.
No. The Ascarai essentially drove, like centuries ago,
right,
the Petrak up into this area.
Right.
But in that time, it's sort of like, think of Greece and the Persian Empire.
Well, that's exactly what
you have this giant empire slowly working up and surrounding every bit of land you own, and you sort of feel cornered up in the world. You don't think they have the ability to strike you quite yet because there's a few other obstacles in the way, but there's the fear that they're coming. However, they're already planting the seeds of them coming. And because one of the big things, they have this obsession with water culturally because the area they come from is
the
arid.
Ascarai or the
Ascarai.
The Ascarai.
And so one of the things they actually really dislike about the Petrakum is they have this disregard for water. Water is very sacred because they come from an arid spot. And so giving water to someone is a huge compliment and stuff like that. But you take care of water is very, very important. It's a precious thing. And up here where it's more common in the lands of Petrakum, it's this thing that you sometimes go to the bathroom in.
Yeah.
And so there's a cultural divide there, especially. And so, but they are planting seeds of discontent. They are prepping the lands for some internal strife, so when they come in, there's less resistance.
So when you said she's an agent of the Ascarai, what came to mind for me is when we had that discussion on a prior episode about the, I think it was the Germans and the Romans, where the Romans would have take Germans in under their wing and raise them as their own. That way.
Yeah. So this is not because of a hostage thing.
I know, but is that what you mean? Like, did she spend... Allow me to rephrase my question. How is she an agent of the Ascarai?
Well, essentially, somewhere in her meanderings, figuring out a way to block her dad. She needs some way, not her dad, but her cousin, who's the prince.
Second cousin's father.
Second cousin's father is
so be a third cousin.
Yeah. And
that's what a third cousin is.
So what happens is, she's putting out feelers trying to figure out how to stop this man who's exceptionally powerful. And probably she happens to find
That's air quotes.
That's air quotes, meaning that they know she's looking for something to stop him, and they let her find them.
So the Ascari must, if they're that aware of the political machinations of the Bedrachum culture, they obviously already have agents in the society. Oh, yes, they do. Okay.
And actually, one of them is working with the prince in his machinations.
And does the prince know that or no?
Oh, the prince does not know it. He bought some equipment from this guy that he's using. Mm-hmm. He does not realize that this guy is Ascari.
Okay.
And she's probably working with this guy.
Okay. And she's like, well, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Well, that too, and she realizes that the one thing that can stop the machinations and Prince Hogar from ruining her family would be the Ascari appearing on the door. So once that happens,
it's okay.
The culture will unify.
Like, I know these guys. Like, this is my family. Let them live.
Let them live as princes, and there should be no kings. Mm-hmm. And there's the King of Kings, of course, but
and he's Ascari, of course.
He's Ascari, of course, but not of their kingdom.
Right.
And their kingdom would still exist. And usually when they take you over, it's much like most ancient empires. Yeah. Oh, feel free to rule your people.
Rule however you want, but throw us a little money.
Here's the tribute that you have to pay every year at this date. You don't want to be late.
Yeah. Don't be late, or the big guys with long swords and big shields will be showing up.
Yeah.
So she's an agent of the Ascari. Mm-hmm. She gets privy to knowledge that she would not otherwise come to. Her main goal is to protect the family, so that falls right into Misguided, because almost there was another almost accidental. Because it's not like she's going to do evil she's just going to end up doing evil things just because she wants to save the family. I think so. It's like the ends justify the means.
I think accidental's in there too. Her plan wasn't to work with the Ascari and be evil. She sort of accidentally became misguided.
Yeah,
and she's not trying to be evil because she doesn't also doesn't understand what the Ascari to take over.
Does she have?
But she wants the threat to grow.
Does she have a sense of morality, or does she just care about like the end result of her family being okay?
I think she does, especially at the beginning, but I think that would probably wear down.
So, I mean, really, because the more and more we're talking about her, she sounds less and less like an evil character and more just like somebody trying to preserve their family.
She's committing treason.
Okay.
I mean,
but so is the prince, though.
By definition, he can't because he's the prince.
But if he wants to take over the other families...
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. But once again, it's a villain of a villain, but she's not a hero because she's not working with the good guys. She's actually working with the bigger villain, which is the Ascari.
Right. So we're defining her as a villain based on her associations, not based on her actions.
But the Ascari are going to corrupt her.
Okay, because I really want to make sure that she has evil actions too.
Yeah, no,
like that.
She's going to start off thinking she's a hero because I think she's kind of naive. Maybe that's one of the traits if you want to write down.
I'll write that down.
Is she's naive and she thinks she can play the Ascari threat off of her father to try and or off of Prince Hogar. Maivia.
I was like, is it E?
No, I think it's A.
I think it's A too.
Yeah.
That's why
naive. But
I'm the worst speller. It's such a bad day for a writer.
How come this whiteboard doesn't have spell check?
I know. I keep hitting the button and it's not refreshing. The thing that kills me about it is like when I'm writing is like the whole half the words on the page will be red and I'll have to go back and.
What's TEH? Yep. Oh wait,
it's a THE there. Yeah.
That's a new character.
Yeah. Ta. Anyway, so she's naive. So maybe she's not quite as smart. Maybe a little bit of her devotion to the family is a little blind devotion.
It's a fanatical devotion to the family, not to the prince. Because the fear is when you make a play to become king and you fail, that's where your family loses everything. That's where essentially all the other princes, the other lords of Bedrachus, you lose everything. Your whole family, your family gets wiped if you lose that gambit.
So not even like ousted, wiped off the map.
Well, there's no difference between the two.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, if they still have allegiances with people, they could at least get their basic needs taken care of.
Some people might be no, because probably what will happen as the leaders of the land, whoever takes over will be afraid that they are going to try and stage a coup to take it back in a year or two. So even if they are not destroyed out of existence,
they'll at least be thrown out of the kingdom.
Well, within a week or two, long knives show up to everyone's house and start killing them. So,
gotcha. Okay.
Whether it's official or unofficial.
So whether they're actually wiped out right there, they're gonna get killed.
They're gonna be running for their lives or murdered, and some of them will probably escape depending on the size of the family. But it won't be easy, and because whoever takes over will not want them to be a threat to them. And so, medieval politics, being ousted and having the whole family slaughtered is really the same thing.
Okay. So where were we? She's Agent of the Ascari.
And like I said, I think she is in her mind trying to become a hero. And the Ascari sort of string her in and let her think she's manipulating them.
Let her believe whatever she wants to believe, as long as she keeps doing what we need her to do.
Yeah, but slowly it's like they keep pushing her moral choices, and they get to a point where it's just kind of like, listen,
don't you understand? There's a point here that if you want to get this done, you have to do it this way. I know it's not how you would choose to do it, but if you want to succeed,
it's for the greater good.
It's for the greater good. I know. Look, I wouldn't want to do it either, but you have to.
And I don't know if she will ever even realize she's a villain. But she's a villain. Yeah. Because I know the person she works for, and he's evil.
Yeah, he's downright evil.
Yeah, he's maybe more the kind of guy you wanted to create.
Yeah. Well, when we first had this discussion, I was thinking an all-in villain. But the thing is, that's kind of a generic villain, an all-in villain.
Yeah.
So, like, we can do better. So.
Yeah. Well, and once again, though, too, it's like a truly evil villain doesn't have to be all-in. To me, that's very stereotypical way of being it. It's like I said, it's the opposite of the Boy Scout. It's everything I do. I kick the bunny because it's there. It's everything. And this guy isn't that, but he's truly, truly evil.
Sociopath evil?
Yeah. Probably.
Sadist evil? Like what's that dude in Game of Thrones? The guy who was messing with the Iron, what are their names?
The Iron Bank?
Not the Iron Bank. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm blanking on the names. I haven't watched the show in a while. The guy who grew up with the Starks, but he's not a Stark. He was raised with the kids. That jerk. The guy who captured him. That guy.
This guy is not sadistic in that way, but if you're...
Is he more mentally, more like Machiavellian about it?
Well, I mean
because that would make him better suited to manipulate her. And
he's definitely Machiavellian. He's definitely a megalomaniac. If you were on the receiving end of his treatment, you might think he's sadistic, but he's not doing it because he necessarily enjoys being sadistic. He finds it serves his purposes. And even if he accidentally kills you, he can still probably use you for a while.
Okay. So getting back to the basic traits of the character.
Yeah, I think we have enough to go there now.
I had written IQ, going back to the GURPS basic scale of 10 being your normal standard human number on a scale of 0 to 18. 10 is your middle ground. So 10 is her IQ is what I think.
Yeah, I think that's fair. She's not exceptionally smart.
Yeah, like she could maybe be pushed to 9, but I don't think, because she is trying to scheme stuff. So we don't want her to be stupid.
No, and I don't think she's stupid. She's naive.
But she's naive, which is different. I don't see her having much in physical prowess. So
I think, like, in GURPS terms, she's probably more dex and health.
Yeah.
Where it's like
she's strength of 9. Or
10-ish, whatever. I mean,
all right. What is her what's going to be her forte tribute. Now, GURPS doesn't use charisma, but we had thrown charisma out there because it was important to the hero. So, like, what would her charisma be?
I think her charisma I think she's pretty but not charismatic.
Okay.
I think she thinks she's charismatic because she's pretty. And sometimes it gets her over.
I like that. I like that. Because I don't see her as charismatic either.
No.
Okay. So I'll write down that she's pretty. How pretty is she? 1 to 10. She's an 8?
8.
She's an 8. A privileged 8.
And that's obviously not in GURPS terms.
It's obviously not in GURPS terms. In GURPS terms, it'd be like a 13, 14 maybe.
Yeah. I think her biggest strength is probably her health.
Okay.
Being the fact
that would lend itself to her.
She's well fed. Mm-hmm. She's from a good family.
Well, not a good family.
She's probably very yes, in the noble sense of things.
She's from a well-off family.
She's not from a pleasant family. She's from a good family. Because you have pleasant families and you have good families.
Right.
And let's see. So I'd say health is probably her strongest trait. And it's probably not great. Maybe a 12. Maybe a little higher in dex, like an 11. Maybe a 12 there too. Because she is a bit of a sneak.
Yeah?
A bit of a sneak.
But a dexterous sneak?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, if she's not smart, she has to get there somehow.
Well, I think that she gets there based on her family influence. So people are like, oh, that's so-and-so. And she's very pretty. And she's not stupid. Mm-hmm. So I think all of that lends to success when it comes to her.
Yes, but she knows how to sneak up to the princess' quarters and put her ear against the door when it need be, too.
Oh, okay. All right.
Like I said, not like a super thief, but yeah.
Enough to sneak around the castle and not be... why is she sneaking around the castle? Like she's... what's the word? She's subtle about it.
She's subtle about her movements. It's like she will... And it might be... she's walking perfectly straight up and normal, and she expects you to just ignore her because you're a peasant.
Right. Yeah, you don't need to pay attention to what I'm doing. Go do what your own good. Go get water for the prince. Purpose is stop the prince. Mm-hmm. Her motivation is loyalty to family and saving her family. Mm-hmm. One of the big parts of her story is going to be that she's an agent of the Ascarai. We have an idea what she looks like. What other things? I know we had talked about friends on the last one with our hero. She had a whole ton of contacts in her village, and she's very good friends with, like, her best friend is her sibling. Mm-hmm. So what about this young woman? I say young woman. How old is she?
She's probably youngish in her 20s.
20s, okay.
22. Take her a CW princess.
A CW princess?
That's a special trait, I think.
Special trait. It's a quirk. Yeah. Actually, that would be an advantage.
That'd be an advantage. That would replace pretty.
10-point advantage. CW princess.
I think she has lots of friends. Mm-hmm. Obviously.
Well, are they actually friends, or are they like those like BS acquaintance friends where, like, because of social standing, they're like that?
That's her life.
Yeah. It's all surface relationships.
Probably her handmaiden is the only person she
knows and knows her really well. Okay. Do we want to delve into the handmaiden at all? No. Okay. So, but should I at least note her?
Yeah, note friend handmaiden. But besides that, her life is that of a person in a very good family, which is she has to be friends with who she's told to be friends with, and she has to act the way she's told.
Right. Yeah. You know, like we deal with this other family all the time. You are good friends with her.
Yes, and they have a daughter, so you're friends.
You're friends. But I don't like her father.
Short it.
I feel like she's getting pretty fleshed out. Are there more things about her story that we want to delve into?
No.
Do you want to call her done? I don't feel like she's evil enough. Still, I still feel that. Here's what I'd like. Here's my request. Mm-hmm. Let's give her at least 2 actions that we can say these things occur in the story that are like either her road to evil or part of things that she's done once she's really crossing into evil. So let's give her like a couple of despicable deeds that she's either directly responsible for or actively took part in.
Okay. Let's see.
I mean something really, real bad. Like something that she would not do, but it's for the family. It's important.
Yeah.
I got one.
Okay.
Let's say that part of her, her planning, her scheming, and her developing a relationship with this other guy, the Ascarai dude, is discovered by a servant.
Has to kill him.
And that person has to be killed. Or flat out, that person says, listen, maybe they go to the prince or they go to the son. Maybe they go to the son, actually, and they say, hey, listen, there's something going on. It's not my place, da-da-da. And she's like, why would you lie about me? Mm-hmm. Why would you do that? Like, she has to make that decision, and she absolutely sells that person out.
Throws them under the bus. And with the help of the Ascarai, plant evidence to support the fact
that he was the one.
Yeah, he was the one. And I
he
think
was trying to cover
her
his
initial
tracks.
relationship is she's suckered into thinking she's blackmailing the Ascarai agent.
Okay.
Because no one knows he's an Ascarai, right, or he would not be allowed in the country.
Right. You have to help me save my family, or I'll tell.
Yeah.
I'll tell everyone who you are. Oh, don't do that.
Oh, no. This isn't part of my evil plan.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, no, I'm so worried.
But I think that's what starts her off down the path.
Okay.
And she is a villain through and through. She just doesn't know it.
Okay. So you come up with one. Okay, give us another evil deed.
She's trying to blackmail.
No, that's not enough. That's too easy.
Huh?
For the sake of the family, why not? Why is that a bad thing? The Ascarai are already evil, so her doing something anti-Ascarai is not necessarily an evil deed.
That's not the same thing as... No, the good thing to do in that scenario is go, oh my God, there's this evil, powerful mage living amongst us who's going to overthrow and destroy our entire country.
Does she know all those things? Did she know all those things?
The Ascarai, within a generation, become boogeymen. That's how nasty they are.
Does she know that?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
everyone knows that.
Michael didn't know
Even
that.
Even the pleasant folks know that, and you don't.
Well, you didn't tell me this. I didn't know that.
It's all up here. You should know
it. Jeff's asking me. Jeff is holding it against me that I can't read his mind again.
Yes. No, the Ascarai, the threat of their magic is one of the most feared things, and that's one of the reasons why magic is very frowned upon in Petrakis, is because there's a fear, like, latently somehow you're being controlled by the Ascarai because they're so powerful.
Or you'll join the Ascarai, maybe.
Or you'll join them, but there's more of a thought that you're somehow under their control and all magic somehow comes through them.
Okay.
And that's definitely the common thought of it. The other thought of it is, from the more noble classes, the Ascarai are really that powerful magic that they do have some way to control everyone who has magic.
I got to tell you, then I'm going to ask for another thing.
Okay.
Because I want something that's like, oh, she stomped on a kitten. Like, I want something that's more obvious than that. Just blackmailing somebody who's bad, while I agree, it is, I'd say I don't even want to go so far as to call that evil. It's dumb. It's not a smart choice.
No, it's evil. I mean, you have evil in front of you, and you're choosing to work with it. That's evil.
Fair enough. See, now worded that way, that sounds better. But I still want another thing.
Okay, there's this guy at the bar called Mike, and she brutally, sadistically murders him.
Okay, fine. Why?
Because she wants his eyeballs for a spell.
Would you stop? She doesn't do magic. We didn't give her magic powers.
Yes, but her agent friend does, and he happens to need that guy's eyeballs.
Are you copping out on this, and you're going to throw me under the bus behind the bar?
I'm throwing you under the bus.
All right. I'm the dead bartender with no eyes now. Lovely. Okay, moving on. Is there any other things we want to cover with her, or are we going to call that it?
Do we want any quirks for her? We don't have any quirks.
Well, she could be a hair twirler.
Yes, she's a hair twirler.
She can be a hair twirler, because I know you like that. We talked about that last episode.
And she can't stop talking.
No. That doesn't work.
Frivolous talk. Remember, she lives in court. She talks to fill time. And it's nothing real. It's, blah, 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 blah.
So
it's nonsensical talk, but it's like she does not like it when she's in a room with people and there's not conversation. If someone's not talking, she is. But it's nonsensical court talk.
Okay.
Oh, that dress you're wearing is so lovely today. Blah, 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 blah.
Okay. Blah, blah, I get you. Jeff's doing a very funny visual, like bobbing his head back and forth and doing the hair twirl bit. So, okay, I get that.
Yeah.
I just don't, like, while I get that as her public persona, I don't see her that way. So I just want to make sure that we're on the same page, that that's not how she actually is. That's just that she feels obligated to do.
I think she's this way around the court.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, publicly, she feels obligated to be that way out of family obligation or out of what is expected.
I think part of it's spite, too. It's like, because no one likes that person.
Fair enough. So she's...
it's complete drivel.
Spiteful fake?
Spiteful fake, yeah.
Okay, I like that.
It's like over-the-top princess. Over-the-top WB princess.
I'm going to write spiteful fake princess talk.
That's probably pretty good.
Yeah, I think we got some pretty good stuff here now at this point. Not as evil as I had gone into this exercise with intention.
Yes.
But that's okay, because she's still doing some rotten stuff, and she's still going to end up doing more rotten stuff.
And she will get worse and worse.
Do you think that you'll actually use her?
I might.
You might?
Yeah.
You like the idea of her?
I like the idea of her. And it's close enough in the story where, probably even after I would introduce M.
Mm-hmm. Do we want to get right to the closing?
Sure.
All right, go for it.
So the world builder task for the day is to build a villain.
Build a villain. Be a villain to the end.
That's right. Someone who, when they go, am I evil, they can go, probably. That's ours right now. She starts off, probably. But in a year, she's almost all in.
I will be the evil queen.
That's right.
Real world task for the day.
Okay, I will be starting a Periscope this Sunday.
Jeff, what's a Periscope?
A Periscope is a Android/iPhone application, and it's, I think, owned by Twitter, and the idea is you do live videos.
Okay.
And so essentially you turn on your phone, you open the Periscope app, and you can either watch someone who's giving a video or a recording thereof. Mm-hmm. And essentially you can actually comment, tweet, you give hearts if you like it.
Well, how are they going to find you?
It is my Twitter handle.
Which is?
And it will also pop up in my Twitter feed at 11:07 that I've started a Periscope.
East Coast time. Well, actually, you know what? When is this going to get posted? Like, what date? You need to tell them the date.
So 11/22, I'll be starting doing Periscopes on Sunday, talking about world builders through this perspective of video games.
Is that going to be every Sunday or just the particular
It will
day?
be every Sunday.
Okay.
And there might be occasionals I don't like on holidays and stuff like that. But in general, every Sunday at 11:07, I'll be doing a Periscope talking about world building through the lens of a specific game. The game I'll be talking about will be Fallout 4.
Is that the only game you're going to talk about, or is that just how you're starting?
That's how I'm starting, and later on, in 4 or 5 years, I might change to something else when I get through all of what I need to get done in that game. Which, I took a break to record the show. Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's very generous of you. I appreciate you sharing your time.
It just shows my love for the show. I won't be eating, I'll tell you that. I have to cut out something else. But
well, I think if maybe you just IV'd yourself.
I will share out. There's a funny video someone said about. There's a video, I forget who did it. I saw it on Facebook about. I think you saw it too.
You sent it up.
The family's ruined by Fallout 4 video. Maybe I'll throw that in the show notes.
It's like a support group for Fallout 4 family
members.
Yeah.
I'll be talking about Fallout 4 and just from a world builder's perspective, things that I think work about the world. Mm-hmm. I don't usually do complaints because who cares? I won't be talking about gameplay. I won't be talking about story, but really things that will either A, appeal to world builders, at least world builders like me, or B, fascinating world building ideas or characters, that sort of thing.
And they do a lot of good storytelling in those games.
They do some good storytelling. And in this game, they get into things that are exceptionally dangerous for world builders, like, let me create communities and create cities and create...
Like, you mean you as the player can create that?
As the player.
Wow.
Yeah.
I knew you could start, like, a building/colony. Like, it can develop into a full-blown city?
Well, a wasteland city.
A wasteland city. So like a small village or town.
I don't know how big they can get, but I know you can create a radio station in a settlement, and actually it will lure in more settlers. So you can actually increase the settlers.
Will it lure in more...
Yes.
What are they called?
Well, there's all kinds of things. So far, I've been attacked by raiders and super mutants.
What's the other one from
Synths?
The one that's in the game, the phone game.
Death Claws?
Death Claws.
I hope not, because Death Claws in this game are much nastier.
Yeah.
Much nastier than any other Fallout game I've played. To the point where I pee-peed myself the first time I ran into one. And it was through story, and I was meant to be able to beat it, but boy, I felt like I had to work my butt off to do it.
Yeah.
And it was significantly more powerful than I was. You just happen to find power armor, which is very powerful in the game. But still, you have to use your brains, or the power armor is not enough.
It's not to save you. Like you gotta work for it.
You gotta work for it. And there was a lot of running, and my poor dog companion being left out to be slapped around by the Deathclaw while I was hiding in buildings. Yeah, I used my pet inappropriately.
Well, is that how the game sets it up to occur? Or
the good thing is your companions don't die in the game, so they get wounded and can't move or do anything. Mm-hmm. But then after a while, you can either stim pack them, or you can. And I did find something called a syringe gun, so I think I might be able to heal at a range. I haven't played with that at all yet, but you can either stim pack them, or usually longer than what most combats take, they will end up getting back up on their own and being fine again. Gotcha. But it's kind of good, because in some of those games, it's like you have a companion and you walk into a place and someone goes boo, and they go and you're like, there goes my thing to carry all my loot out of here with.
Yeah, right. There goes my pack mule.
And with the community building in this, there is nothing that does not get looted. Yeah. Nothing.
That's what I hear. But this is making a very long tease.
Yes.
So the basic no. Actually, that wasn't a tease. This is the real world task.
Yes.
Go visit Jeff on Periscope on Sunday mornings.
Yes, and I might end up cutting some of this out, because that was way long.
That's okay. A little Fallout talk.
See.
Call it. Get some primed for the show. Little tease. All right. So what is the actual tease for the next show? The tease
for the episode 101, which is actually a vault number from one of the games. Vault 3 from Vault 1. I think it was 3. Yeah.
Where my vault is, like, my main vault is 317. So we've got to do this show for a couple more years before we get to my vault.
Well, that's not my vault from that game.
I know. I'm just saying, like,
Well, my vault's 999, so we have to go a really long time. The tease for the next episode is a collision of governments, cultures, religion. Essentially, it's going to be a real world example of Egyptian mummies, and it'll be a very good illustration of how all of the different pieces we talked about in earlier episodes, the parts of things that make up a fantasy world, how they end up working together in a real life scenario.
Cool.
And as always, make sure to go to Gardul.com. That's GARDUL.com for the show notes. It'll be under podcasting, World Builders Anvil. That's a great place to get all of the information from the episode that you've just listened to, and to see all the resources that we've talked about in this episode. Thanks for joining us this episode of the World Builders Anvil. Please be sure to rate and review us in iTunes, and please help get the word out to your friends about our show. And join me, Jeffrey W. Ingram, at Gardul.com to see the progress of my world and learn why I made the choices I did. And please contact me and let me know the topics you would love to hear in the future. Now strike while the myth rolls high.